Hi, welcome to the WDD130 screencast. This is week 12, and I want to run through the introduction with you. Some of the tasks you will complete this week involve learning about LDS Online responsibilities, doing a media card component exercise, and working on your personal site child pages. So let's jump right to the first task, shall we? Now, guess what? I didn't actually mention that. The first thing you should do in week 12, following the intro, is this, week 12 discussion. It's a peer review. So please go grab your week 11's finishing touches assignment, personal website you're building, and share the URL here. The purpose of this activity is to have each of you provide and receive feedback on your personal website pages. So please engage with this. It's 10 points you can earn just by sharing your work and supporting one another. So please help teach one another here as well about the HTML and CSS issues and celebrations you're having as you build the personal website. So jumping back to modules, reminder, we are already in week 12, which means we've only got 2 weeks left after today, practically, to finish up our whole semester. So engage in the discussion. You should get some real insights and some real good feedback by posting early so others can see your work and give you some constructive feedback. Now, what I'd like to spend most of the screencast doing, approximately 5 minutes, is discussing a media card component exercise. So if we click here, I already see 3 submissions. That's terrific. Keep it up. You're doing great. If we look down here, it's worth 10 points, and you will share your website URL here when you're all finished. So it looks like all of our assignments, are they due on March 28th? It looks like it. If we see today's the 24th, yes, we have a self-assessment, an LDS Online responsibility quiz, personal site subpage update, media card, and then the peer review. Everything's due on the 28th. So I'd make a personal goal to simply post your work tonight, if you can, make a reply to someone else tomorrow, finish the media card as well tomorrow or by Thursday, and that gives you Friday and Saturday to do your personal site and this couple of quizzes here, okay, or this pair of quizzes. So get to it. Let's start with media card component. You'll notice I have it over here on a different tab in Google Chrome, and essentially we want to duplicate this graphic, this user interface for the thumbnail. So I will keep these instructions on the right hand side of my screen, and I will be showcasing what I've done in Glitch to keep up with it. The estimated time says 60 minutes. If you're taking longer than 60 minutes, I would encourage you to email me and to ask questions, specific questions that I can help you with. So please give me some questions if you're working too long on this. It should not take you more than an hour, because we'll be pulling together things we've already learned in previous weeks. Now, to set the foundation, and I forget, I need to pull up Glitch, shouldn't I? So you too should be pulling open Glitch in a new tab, okay? And I would recommend splitting your screen as I have, so you can simply use this for instructions and this left side of your screen for the work. So the first thing you should do, as it illustrates, is to create a new card.html file. So remember, we can organize our files in Glitch by just creating them and then editing them directly. So once you make your file, you want to click on it, excuse me, and make sure that you're including the doc type, HTML, the head, and the body declarations. Essentially, when you start the assignment, your body should be completely empty, okay? You shouldn't have anything in it. It should just be a blank slate. But as we go about these instructions, we'll be adding an article, we'll be adding an image, we'll be adding a footer, as well as a view button and an edit button. And if you see them all, here they are in all of their glory: the image, the paragraph, the view button, the edit button, and finally we'll have a little span tag that simply contains the 9 minutes of text. So you're probably wondering, well, what's this container div called? It's not going to be a div for this exercise. Rather, we're going to input that information in an article. Okay, so if we look at the article down here, we need to declare that and assign it a class. And the class I've assigned it is card. Okay, so we give you that instruction here. The next thing we do is add an image, and by all means, please use this image. You can input that as the value for SRC, and always include an alt property as well. And I've just put in mockup image. Okay, it's not too important what that is. Essentially, if it can't find this file, okay, it's going to simply showcase that alternative text, or it should. Okay, mine's not actually showing right now, so let's restore that. Alt equals mockup image. Yeah, that should have shown here. We see this is at an actual URL, so every time it refreshes, it's going to show a new picture, which is quite funny. Okay, so now we got some clouds. Essentially, after that, you'll open your image. You'll open a paragraph of text, and I would just duplicate the type that we give you up here. Okay, this is, and it ends with longer. And then I opened up a footer where we also input the view and the edit buttons. And if you don't remember, W3 Schools is your friend. It's a wonderful resource, okay, where you can find helpful notes for things that we've learned in the past. And I'll even frequent this site too, because sometimes I forget some of the syntax when I'm doing more advanced CSS. And so if you want to try things yourself, just give it a whirl. Give it a quick search and say, I forget, what is submit button? And how does that styled? Okay. And make sure you choose the W3 School reference. Okay. If we look at HTML input type, submit, there it is. And they give me an example here I can try. Oh yeah, I remember doing this a couple weeks ago. You may be asking yourself or saying in your head. Remember, a submit button starts with an input, a type of submit, and then the value simply changes what we see here. Okay, so if we change this from submit to click me, okay, you should see a change once we click run. Okay, click me. So we can refresh that too. So again, don't feel helpless if you forget something. Use the World Wide Web. Reach out to me via email. There's a lot of information for you. So if we come on down here, yes, we have to start thinking about CSS once we have the bulk of our thumbnail established in the HTML. And you'll notice I've done that here internally with CSS. I've targeted all images to have a max width of 100%, okay, just as we've instructed. And then the next thing we recommend you do is style your card class. If we adjust the width, it's going to stretch. If we shrink it, it will turn small. If we expand it, it will get larger, okay? Again, the width, okay, that's what's happening here. You can go 100, you can go 1000. We recommend 320 to duplicate that example, okay? No matter what I do, it's going to stay 320 pixels. And then the border radius, you're probably asking, what does that do? That actually rounds the edges of the card, okay? Rounds the edges of the article here. So if I come on up, well, what does that do? If I change it to maybe, I don't know, what if I do border radius 3 pixels like we actually recommend here? Okay, it's a less gradual, okay, rounding of the edges. But if we go to, oh, I did 13, sorry. If I do 3 pixels, okay, it's less round. If I do 30, check this out. Whoa, it's very round all of a sudden, okay? So border radius will round your edges. And the box shadow, it does exactly what it sounds like. It gives the box a shadow or a drop shadow. Again, the top has 1 pixel. The right has 1 pixel. The bottom has 4. And if you get crazy and say, is it 40? Can we do that? Yeah, we should be able to. Wow, 40 pixels. Look at that. That drop shadow, that box shadow is extreme now. So use your own discretion. Don't get too crazy with the radius and shadow. Try to duplicate this example here. Okay. I actually like the 10 pixels, but that's a little extreme too. So I'm going to levy that down to about 6 pixels. Okay. Background color, we know what that is. We've been using that since week 2. Okay. If you adjust the background color, it's going to change things. We prefer to keep that white for now. And then include a sans serif. We recommend Arial or Helvetica. And if those are not installed on a user's computer for whatever reason, we use a backup of a sans serif. Now the overflow hidden properties, what's going to help you also at this stage, we come on down here, the base style talks about this here. Let's double check. Oh yeah, the overflow property is actually in step 3 of finishing up. The overflow property can help fix the top corners of your thumbnail if you notice that it's getting covered. If these rounded edges are getting covered by the image, you can undo that with an overflow hidden. So if you just watch what happens if I remove that. Oh no, I see a square corner up here, and I see a square corner down there. I don't want this square corner up here, you say? Well, then you want to use overflow hidden, and it will not get in the way of the rounded edge. Okay, that's what overflow hidden does. But essentially, these are quite easy to use and style. Just test them out. Where you'll have most of your difficulty, though, is trying to duplicate the spacing. You'll notice there's some padding that we've applied to my view and my edit button. And I just want to demonstrate what happens if you omit padding altogether. So I'll leave the padding of 5 pixels on my view button, and I will omit it from my edit button. Watch what happens. If we remove padding, we're removing the negative white space between the content and its border. Okay, the border that I established here. Okay, we could have a 5 pixel border and it gets more thick. We could have a 1 pixel border and it gets more thin. And if we add some padding, okay, it's going to create some white space. How much padding? You decide. Okay, and you have to experiment. I'll usually use 5 pixels as a ballpark. If I find it's too little, I'll add more. And if I find 50 pixels is too much, I will reduce it drastically. So essentially, remember, padding creates that white space between content and border. Margin creates the what we say the negative white space between elements. So if you notice here, I've added a negative margin, okay, to edit closer to view. If this had been a positive 5, it's going to have a gap, right? All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. And that's what that looks like. But if we want to eliminate the gap, you have to negate the margin left. Okay, so remember, syntax is important. Property values have to be declared, and then the value has to be declared as well. So essentially, play around with margin, play around with the padding to get the alignment right. And how did I get my span to be smaller and over here? Well, I targeted margin right, or sorry, margin left. I used 50%. And then I did a font size of 0.7 because what I found was if I just left it at 1 EM, okay, it's way too large, okay? It needs to be less, okay? The font size needs to be smaller than what we see in view and edit. So make sure you do that. Just treat every single component of this thumbnail as a project for you to perfect. So I look forward to seeing your work. Again, get the image, get the article, paragraph, get the buttons established, and then once everything's there, you get to have some fun doing some internal styling, okay? You may do external styling, but that's just extra work. I would just do everything internal here. And all we're styling is this small markup language that we have here, okay? But it's going to be fun. I recommend, again, to preview next to the code, and then make sure you change the URL here to car.html. If that's what you put, okay, that's what it's going to show. Otherwise, you see my index.html showing, okay? So make sure you boss it around and say, hey, I'd like to preview this next to my code. What? Oh, car.html. So make sure you do that. But again, this is just one, I'd say 60-minute exercise at most. It should be a great review for you. You can incorporate what you're doing here as well on your main page or one of your child pages. I highly encourage it. If you take the time to build this, make one of your child pages incorporate this. It would be a fun exercise for you. But let's see. I think we're done. How do you submit the work once you've styled everything? I would like you to share your URL. So for me, if I share this with you, I would come down here, and rather than invite you to edit, which if you needed my help, I would actually encourage you to email me with this link. If you copy it and email me that, I can actually edit your project, see where you went wrong. But for the sake of just viewing your work, I would say just copy this, copy that, and then paste it into the assignment. Okay, so 3 of you have done that already. So I need to say goodbye now, okay? I encourage you to read my announcement. There's going to be a new spiritual thought this week. And get to working these modules, okay, one at a time. But I look forward to seeing your work. Email me if you have questions, and good luck, and stay safe out there. I'll see you later. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.